What's up, y'all? We are back. Eric Esteban here and Chris Mateo.
What's up? What's up?
We said we would give you a debate reaction, and after much consternation,
Anxiety.
but
What other emotions?
we have to make our. I was watching with Jon Stewart, and she had this psychologist talking about we should have our anxiety be effective anxiety and not waste. It's not anxiety that doesn't accomplish anything is wasted anxiety. So we
Yeah.
should be progressive, good anxiety. And with
Yeah.
that, we brought a guest to
We
help
did.
us with our debate anxiety because she hasn't even. It's cool because she's going to get a cool perspective because she's going to get our perspective of the debate because she abstained from watching it and for me I'm envious
Yes.
of her. But I'm going to
Yes.
let you introduce her because I met you through her and vice versa. Like I met you guys almost together, so I would rather you introduce her than I because you give her a better intro.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've introduced our guest several times in my life. I don't even know where to start, but for the sake of this podcast, for our listeners who are wondering how this all ties in, our guest was a member of our digital media team for FilAms for Biden, the first iteration back in 2020. While Eric and I were doing video, well, we were working with Melissa Ramoso to do your vlog. Behind the scenes, I needed somebody to help with messaging, marketing, someone with a background of being, public affairs, PR stuff, just my media guru all around in my life. And who better than Kyla Aquino Irving? She is this amazing individual in our community, amazing leader. But we are so happy that you are here to join us because, again, we are all part of the same team. We've worked on other things together. But I do need to point out the funny thing. I think we mentioned you in this last podcast. You and Eric have met each other in person. I
Yeah.
have never met Eric ever in person.
Last year at the Philam Friendship Day, Friendship
Was it
Festival.
2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
I've hosted it 3 years in a row, so I guess it was 3. It was the first time I hosted it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I
Well, thank
remember
you.
making sure you
And
guys.
almost, so this will be the 3rd year in a row on
Nice.
July 13th. So yeah, I'm getting old.
Yeah. And fun fact, Kyla, I'm trying to get him to host Magka Isa here in Elk Grove in October. So we want to try to fly him up and do
If
his
you
hosting for us.
co-host, I'm down. Let's
There
do
you,
it.
oh no, that would be, my mind would be blown. I just like these two, you two would just, you should just have a show together like that. That would be amazing. But let's test you out in October.
I'm kind of Sacramento's Ninang at this point. I used to be Sacramento's Ate, but I've the next echelon, I guess, is the Ninang hood because you're like trying to be a patron to the community.
Well, you're my Ninang. So
Right.
Eric, I don't know if you know her nickname for me. She's my kidney Ninang because Kyla is like me, a kidney transplant recipient twice. And when I got mine, she was like my number one guide, my Ninang, my older sister to just say, Chris, this is what you're gonna expect and go through. And so she is my Ninang, but my kidney Ninang, because that's very specific. So
That's
welcome.
awesome. That is awesome. What a great introduction too. Because you guys know each other so well and you're literally kidney nung. So I mean
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kyla, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Anything more, whatever you want to share, just so listeners get to know who you are?
I don't know if this helps anyway. I was born in the Philippines and I came here when I was only 2 years old, and I've been what I thought was American all this time. But I found out, at some point that I was not a US citizen. So, long story short, I am trying to be a citizen so that I can vote. But in my life, the way that I've participated is, voting by donation to the candidates I believe in, making phone calls, being a part of this the Sacramento Filipino political groups. I vote with my voice, but I technically cannot vote. So I do what I can to stay informed and help other people stay informed. But this year, mark my words, I'm working on my citizenship and we'll have to celebrate somehow. But yeah, I'm hoping I will get that voter registration in time so that I can be a part of this movement to keep a good president in place. Let's go.
Listen, okay, because last night was admittedly from everybody on down, from even Kamala Harris. She's like, I'm not going to judge a man by 90 minutes because I worked with him for the last 3.5 years. I mean, that was like an exchange with her. And then there's other people in the party talking about we should replace him because he's too old and all these other. And I'm like, this is why smart people can never have nice things, especially in politics. That's what I've kind of boiled. Because for me, when I'm watching this, okay, let's do a little debate reaction because that's
Sure.
what you're here for. Yes, that's what we're all here for. Because you didn't see the debate, and for me, I'm an actor. I'm a theater performer. I'm a performer, so I know in the first 10 seconds. And not only that, I taught debate and the acting techniques within debate for a high school team that ended up getting flown to Washington, D.C. to compete in the National Debating Championships for high schools. Like, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to debate.
Wow.
Like,
so let's break it down. What was the first, like, ick factor for you?
If Biden's main goal was to say, I'm going to be vibrant enough for the next 4 years, the way homie walked out, I knew, like, it just, but then today he responded at a campaign event where he's like, I know I don't walk the same, I know I don't talk the same, and I know I don't debate the same, but I know how to tell the truth, and I know how, and I know right from wrong, and I'm a good person, and all the things that we already know about Biden, and all the things that I'm talking about it now, and I'm getting goosebumps because the only reason that I'm voting for this man is, yes, most legislatively progressive, even progressive. You could even add that to it because the green initiatives, the HBCU donations, all the things that they've done, college loans. My friend Mitch, who co-hosts another podcast with me, the Canacuya podcast, he was like, my student loan vanished, but I keep screen capping all the zero balance things they send me because I'm scared that it might come back because I'm so scared that it might. But
I need proof. Yeah.
This whole thing was forgiven. It was zero. And if you were one of those people, you think a 90-minute debate where homie was talking slow and stuttering and lost his train of thought, he also got in a few shivs where he said,
I will say, I had to go with Donald Trump. I don't know if I could be this metered, calm, best that I am self. The guy just gives me the ick. Like, yeah. I would not be at my best with that guy. Ugh.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, that's the reason. I mean, we know that you didn't watch it, listen to it. Kudos to you. And I think Eric and I were so both jealous that you didn't have any experience with that at all because it triggered me. Like you just said, like even just going toe to toe. Yeah, but I turned on NPR to listen while I was driving to a friend's birthday dinner. And I was like, I need to turn this down or switch it over or just turn it off. And, my wife was like, no, let's listen to it for a little bit before we get to the restaurant. I said, okay, but I was just getting like you said, you're feeling goosebumps, Eric. I was feeling for the different reason because I was like, I don't know, something's triggering on me. Like I want to speed up my car. I want to get out and, punch roadkill. I don't know what I wanted to do at that time. But I was like, I don't feel right just hearing this man's voice at all.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys how I watched and listened to the debate. I went into my sacred place, my Buddha lounge, where I cultivate and grow all my cannabis. And I sat there at my table where I normally take my notes that I grow my little babies. And I put my headphones on because I usually watch YouTube videos on soil culture, all this different, botanist type of stuff. Cause I'm like a scientist when it comes to the cannabis growing now. I'm just going to say
you're like the Filipino Jackson. He's like a whole brain genius over here.
Look,
The
Look,
politic.
because
Love it.
it's connected me back to the earth, and it's made me realize how small I am, and it's also made me realize that a lot of this stuff is not. It's June, right? We still have the convention in August, but we also still have a lot of things for the Trump campaign to look forward to, like July 11th, when that dude gets sentenced to his 34 convictions. You know, and I don't. Unfortunately, being realistic, I don't think he's going to see the other cases are going to see a courtroom because of either the judge in Florida who's holding a what Chapin or whatever her name is, the the rookie judge who doesn't really know what the hell she's doing, but she knows that she knows how to delay some shit, so she's delayed it for as long as she could delay it. And then I think the other case, I think the other case is connected to that case, so it's like all connected. And then also this, and then we got the Supreme Court to deal with, which is already like, basically we already kind of are behind. We're already behind because of this.
Don't get me started on the Supreme Court just today, because they just made homelessness illegal. Basically, they criminalized homelessness with the Gates Pass ruling. It's basically, if you see homeless outside, you can arrest them. You can throw them in jail. They will be fined. They'll be in jail for 2 days, and we'll put them back out on the street. But this is how we're handling homelessness in so many parts, in Oregon at least, but a lot of Western states. And it's a Supreme.
I wonder how many of those states also have a prison industrial complex where there's a few really rich dudes profiting off the prisons. And and now you can just, oh yeah, let's put them in jail for a couple of days, put them to work, and then we'll release them, and then they'll just be we'll be cycled back up. And who cares if they have mental problems or any kind of mental diseases or any kind of ailments or anything, any kind of physical claim? Who cares about all that shit? Just put them in jail, and then it's a horrible cycle. But when you look more into like the whole prison industrial complex and all these other things, like all these things that we don't like about our society, like, and then you think about yesterday's debate and how we're disappointed in Biden's performance and all this stuff. But I would never ever, like, I'm still on here talking with y'all about me and FilAms for Biden. Like, there's no other choice. Right. You really can't. I mean, even these people who are talking about this whole, like, oh, let's do an open convention and la la la. I mean, we were talking about it in the pregame. I'm from Chicago. I know what happened in, what was it, 1969 convention with Chicago, and everything went all crazy. Did y'all watch the Netflix show? That shit was real. That wasn't a dramatization. That was real. There were riots, and it was a problem. And once you break off into factions in the party, just ask the Republican Party how the factions are going for them, with the Never Trumpers versus the MAGA people, and how their whole shit is still divided. So let's keep them divided. And understand that Joe Biden has done a lot for us, not to mention his administration, top to bottom, saved us from that damn pandemic. Let's just be, where were we in 2020, guys? We got to keep reminding people, I think, because people got amnesia. And that's another thing with this debate. I don't know that this debate they were smart to do it early, and they were smart to do it before the conventions. But
before they had to do it behind a panel of glass and like a telephone, right?
I mean, because who knows where he's going to be after June? Because I, being realistic, don't think that I would hope that he gets some jail time and he's sentenced, because an appeal is an appeal is an appeal. Once you're sentenced, you still got to go. But I don't think that because of the implications, he's going to get special treatment, and he's not going to go to jail for those 34 counts. I think he's going to get some kind of he may be under house arrest. So, or some stupid shit like that, because of, I'm scared that but he should go to jail, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to not to say that the optimism in me is going away, but the realistic and the pragmatic has kind of
Well,
taken over.
yeah, well, it's based on historically what we've seen and how he's gotten away with so much stuff already, right? I mean, like, so it's the pragmatist, it's the realist that's based on, unfortunately, data-driven results, right? We've seen this, and he's been able to get away with stuff his whole life, and so unfortunately, it's real in very many ways.
But the
So
scary part is if he gets reelected, that's
Mm-mm.
yeah,
that's different.
yeah,
That's different because then we got to delete all of our podcasts because homie will go after us. That's how petty this administration would be if he got reelected. Like it would be scary. Like we would,
Yeah.
and then you just literally admitted that you're still trying to get your citizenship. If
You know how expensive it was, just like from the Obama administration to the Trump administration, the fee just to apply was $1,200.
ooh,
And my dad was born a U.S. citizen, so
how does
I
that
was
even work?
a statute
How does that even
that
work if your dad's born a citizen?
yeah,
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
wait. Because my cousin on my wife's side was born in Africa when his parents were in the Peace Corps.
Right.
So what makes it different from
I don't
you?
know, but I have siblings who have their citizenship for the same reasons, but for some reason I was born a year too early before they changed some sort of law or whatever. But they're trying to work it out because when I tried to apply, they said you may be entitled to citizenship, and I was like, no, duh.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
but they still went ahead and took my $1,200
of course they did.
apply. So
And
yeah,
you know what's horrible is that luckily enough for you, you have an extra $1,200 to do that, but not a lot of people.
yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't extra, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
not a lot of people even have that to even
right,
start the process. So
right,
it's not a choice in this
right.
election for people like us. For people like
And
us who love and care for people like you, but
thank
also
you.
who have people like you in our family, or in our secondary family, or
Right,
in our friends, or whoever. There's a
right,
lot more of you in our community than we
right,
even realize. And
right.
if that guy gets elected, goodness
Mm-mm.
gracious.
yeah,
All he
yeah,
said in the debate, all he blamed literally every ailment in our
Ugh.
country, from inflation to social security to the rigging of the voting, everything was all immigrants' fault. It was
Wow.
scary because it
Wow.
sounded so like I've never studied anything from Hitler because I don't bother to. I'll let Ann Coulter tell me all the stuff that I need to know about Hitler. Remember that? But she said, just because Hitler said it was bad or didn't said it was good doesn't mean that it's bad or whatever the hell she said, some stupid shit. Like these
Wow.
people are showing their ass now. Is
Yikes.
January 6th changed the whole game because
Mhm.
they're asking you to deny reality. Trump in the debate yesterday, he said, I didn't say good people on both sides at Charlottesville. Come on, yes, you did.
yeah,
I didn't have sex with a porn star. We all unfortunately have Stormy Weather's description of your mushroom-sized
Uh,
penis. We all have that shit in our minds. And I have it now in my mind again just because I said that shit out loud. So
ugh.
we know you had sex with that porn star because I'm sorry, no porn star would ruin her career to describe sex with you on Jimmy Kimmel.
Mm.
Like, come on,
yeah,
please. You did it while your
delusional.
wife was at home with your baby, with the one you were wanting to go to high school graduation with. You wanted to go to high school graduation, but you was fucking a porn star when he was being nursed by Melania. Stop
Ugh.
it. Just stop it. Just stop it. It's just and then the best one was for me, and this is where I was most disappointed with Biden, was when Trump blamed Nancy Pelosi for January 6th.
Wow.
Trump said, I called her and she denied the National Guard. She said, let him come. When we see all the footage of Nancy swearing, talking about, you better get these people out of here with the, like they were panicked. They were all scared for their lives. Yeah. And you're going to tell me that she would have turned down you talking about National Guard. Come on, man. We all saw the footage. We all know what your Trump fans did and how that was the worst day I've ever. That was the. I'm a real, I've studied politics since the 90s. I've followed world affairs and I've hated Republicans since Ronald Reagan when I was 11. Like I don't like Republicans. I don't like conservatives because I don't like backwards thinking. And that's what a lot of conservatism is. And that January 6th was, for me, watching from the 80s as a young child, growing up and watching these people do what they did to our society with their trickle-down economics theory of how the rich people were going to bless us all with all the money and all that, whatever. Like from the Republicans then, and then even George Sr. and then George Jr., George W. and it was a progression of stupidity and more and less and less. No, but it was.
I know. I
always remember that. I don't know if this was a fictional line in the movie, but there was that movie with John McCain and Sarah Palin where Julianne Moore played Sarah Palin. I'm almost positive it was Julianne Moore, and she played her ass off, like she was crazy. And then, but the character, I think it was Ed Harris who played John McCain, and Julianne Moore. And then there was this part where he goes, "Just don't give the party over to the crazies." And
little did he know, though, who he was talking to.
And the guy who runs the Lincoln Project, Steve Schmidt, am I right? Like one of the guys who was a campaign manager for McCain and was one of the first Never Trumpers. That even he talks about how Sarah Palin was the Pandora's box of stupidity in this country. Yeah, she was the Pandora of stupidity in America, and she was one of the first people to endorse Trump. Wow. She was the one who lent validity to his birther theories. Yeah, remember that, guys? Yeah. Like his whole career started on racism.
Yeah, she was the face of the Tea Party, right?
Caribou Party.
Yeah. I mean, it's been since back then. I mean, we and this is it's sad because this is the culmination of all the mistakes of both parties.
Yeah.
Because, Biden would have been good for one term, but we needed to figure out somebody so we're not talking about this guy stuttering for this. And then when CNN cuts right to Newsom, not that I'm necessarily a fan of Gavin Newsom, he has his faults too, but again, nobody's perfect.
Right.
You can only hope for so much because as long as it's not Trump, I'm cool. Yeah. But Gavin Newsom gave a very good answer right after the debate. Yeah. He's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. How are you going to?
Yeah. Why are we even entertaining this? Yeah.
At night, you're going to give up on this guy who's been the most progressive president legislatively since FDR? Are you crazy? Come on.
And helped us after Trump. And now we're trying to turn our backs to him, for what, 90 minutes? And
what was $3,600 worth of child credits?
Yeah.
Every month? Come on. Took how many kids out of poverty? Created a green initiative, rejoined the Paris Agreement? Come on. Saved Ukraine. Now, I'm not sure what is going on with, Palestine and Israel and all that stuff. But guess what, guys? That shit's been going on for almost 100 years.
Right.
I don't know that, I guess Jared couldn't fix it, guys. Remember who Trump put in charge of the Middle East crisis? Jared. And he walked away with $3 billion from homie who killed the reporter from Saudi Arabia. Come on. It's just, it's illogical to me. And it's almost even more illogical for me that if there's any Filipinos still supporting Trump after the pandemic, when how many of us were lost in the front lines of that pandemic?
If you have a relative in healthcare, you just start right there. And you know, as Filipinos, everybody's got a relative in healthcare. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And that's for me. If there's anybody, I'm like that dude with the walis at January 6th.
Get it.
That's the worst. That he will forever, for me in my life, in my political, career. If I ever write a political book, I will write him in as the worst Filipino American in history, because that bitch made us look as bad as. This bitch bought a broom to clean up after the white folk with Tagalog on it, making us look. Our brooms are special. What?
We don't claim that.
Dumbest motherfucking Filipino American I've ever seen in my life.
We don't claim that one. Mm-mm.
No,
the Filipino American delegation says no.
I feel like him and homie Rob Schneider, y'all both on the trading block.
Yeah.
When we started on Schneider, he has attacked our dear Dr. Pan several times here in Sacramento. I think was really, I mean, when one of our senator here, Dr. Richard Pan, got attacked by somebody, Schneider was one of the first to be like, yeah, good for him type of thing. Like, what? He was an anti-vaxxer. He was just railing on all of our legislators up here. And it was just, I was like, no, he's not Filipino. Everyone's like, yeah, he's half Chris. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm denying that.
I feel like now, especially because now I'm in charge of the comedy politics in Filipino American culture. I'm also now in charge of the trading and the negotiations in as far as the race trades. And I feel like homie with the walis and Rob Schneider, and to be honest, I feel like Michelle Malkin about to demand a trade anyway, so we might as well just put her on the trading block.
Yeah.
Woo! I'm going to San Diego, y'all. I'm But I'm going to say it like this though. There are conservatives in SoCal, but there's not a lot. It's California.
Be careful. There's a lot of immigrants in San Diego. Oh.
I hope so. Hope I can get a good burrito, because I know those are delicious in San Diego. Those are Mexican food is
everything
delicious.
is good in San Diego.
Immigrants are what make this culture. And from the Chinese, when they tried to exclude them, they had the Chinese Exclusion Act. They had, they included us in the criminalization of marijuana, where it was Negroes, Latinos, Filipinos, and entertainers. Bitch, I'm a Filipino entertainer. You put both twice.
All of the above.
From all this history, so it's not hard for me to defend a guy who fumbled, because he's 81 years old and a lot of pressure. I'm still going to support him. And what are you going to do? The alternative is ridiculous. Like, I can't even fathom it. Like, we could have Chicago 1969 all over. No, I'm cool. I'm good with that. I'm good. Because Nixon won in that election, guys. Remember? I mean, they're just looking for history. The conservative guy ended up winning when we were divided. So the best thing for us to do, and I get it, there's a lot of things I don't agree with Biden on. We just talked about. I don't agree with how he's handling Hamas, especially when we're the ones giving them all the weapons. I don't see, especially the way he handled it in the debate. It was not good. Like,
right.
He could have even just turned it around and just did what I did and said, "What are you? I'm doing the best that I can. If he gets reelected, he's going to put Jared back there again to get money more." He could. There's so many things he could have easily done where it was just hard it was just hard to watch. That's what I'm going to say. That was
and the Supreme Court justices that got placed during Trump's time. Don't get me started on that.
But also, those are also, if you have to look at it from a historical perspective, you know, Obama should have.
Oh, yes, 100%.
You know, should have said, "Fuck you, Mitch McConnell. I'm not waiting for the election. I'm the president. Give me this pick."
Yeah,
that's number one. And number two, Mitch McConnell should have never been able to say that shit. And number three, as much as I love RBG, she should have retired during Obama's term so that we would have never had the mess of her having to pass away during Trump.
We could have had Sotomayor early.
So she knew that her replacement would be somebody that she respected. So, this is not me. I love RBG. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is an American hero. She's brilliant, but she should. I understand she was cool with the push-ups and all the 10 weights and all that, but looking back in hindsight, she should have retired and to have Obama be able to replace her. But then Mitch McConnell might have ran that bullshit again. So we don't know. We don't know. I mean, that's the horrible part about all of this. When you think about how we've got here, it's pretty. But then I go, at least I'm not a Republican. Goodness gracious. Because it's scary because it's like a cult. Because he is just.
I just don't understand how people who call themselves Christians can support criminalizing homelessness, all of the things that Jesus said to not do, like to treat people with fairness and kindness. Like, where's that? And so we trust Trump. Like, as a Christian, you cannot. I can't even. How?
I almost have to say, like, because, like, I'm not. I guess I'm like most liberals. I'll say, like, I'm not very religious anymore. I don't go to church anymore. I was an altar boy. I was, all through my grammar school, I was an altar boy. And there's a lot of things about the church that I've gotten to a point where in my life where I'm 50 years old, so I can say, like, y'all should just read another book, because same shit every year, same story. I read the book because I'm an altar boy, so I was there for 4 years reading this. No, but and look, I understand that religion and spirituality and all these things are very important parts of the human existence. But for me, that structure of especially a church that is telling you the reverse teachings, because you're not talking about honoring Jesus and his teachings. Because if you really did, I read the book many times. Remember, I was an altar boy for 4 years. And the only commandment that Jesus said, that you had to deal with. And the only one, forget all the other 10 commandments that they're trying to put up in classrooms in Louisiana, right? The only commandment that you need is the golden rule. Treat others as you would treat yourself, or as you would like to be treated. That's all you need to know. That's the teaching. Like Buddha had like those one lines and all these wisdoms. For Jesus, if you got that, you're good.
Good. Yeah.
You're good. You know what Jesus is talking about. If you got the golden rule, because even he said it in the Bible. He said, forget all the other commandments. Think about this one.
Yeah. Right.
Treat everybody how you would like to be treated. And if everybody had that sense of empathy, where would we be as a human race?
Yeah.
Because we know that Donald Trump has not a lick of empathy. And if it's an empathy contest, I mean, Joe Biden got a lot. Joe Biden is You know, the times when we've had to deal with. I remember the commemoration for the pandemic and the victims in the Washington Hall with the lights all along the thing. Remember, and then and he had a speech, and he talked about his son Bo, and the way that he was able to empathize with the whole country who had somehow either lost or was connected to somebody's loss with his loss, and be able to do that and then all bring us out of it. And 71% of us are now vaccinated because of Joe Biden. I think I got to renew my thing, but I feel like to me also that cannabis has immunized me from COVID. It's true.
Is that the latest study?
That was a study in Israel, speaking of which, that talked about how guys, we've got to remember there's an endocannabinoid system in our bodies that creates cannabinoids that communicate with all of the other systems in our body. It's like it's a central nerve, it's part of the central nervous system, but it's not, it's separate from it, and creates cannabinoids and endorphins and all the other chemicals that help you feel good and regulate your circulatory system and all these. I can't keep talking about it because we'll run another 40 minutes about me talking about, but like, I feel like because I consume so much there was studies out there that talked about how people who consume cannabis either had a less severe case of COVID or didn't catch COVID at all.
Wow.
I'm just putting that out there like an Alex Jones thing. There's no study at all. This is bullshit. I'm just trying to put that rumor out there.
Lungs are coated.
Maybe make our podcast go viral or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Gotta coat your lungs with good THC, I guess, and then you're safe.
My lungs are coated all the time.
He's good for a while. So speaking of lungs and coated and getting it out of your system, I'm glad we were able to get that out. I'm glad that Eric was able to share his well, at least some of it. I know you've still got some stuff after that debate, and we're ready to go forward with what we need to do to help Biden and defeat the other guy. But one other reason that we wanted to bring Kyla on is because this is a debate episode.
Mm-hmm.
Saw on Instagram, you want to share this story about this own debate that's been going on, and you chimed in on. You want to share with us about this very interesting, because we decided I think last episode, Eric and I were like, well, we talk about pop culture, politics, and Filipino. I think you can cover the Filipino pop culture part with share with us with what happened recently on Instagram.
That did not go the way I thought it was going. I thought we were talking about lungs. I thought organ donation was the next part of this conversation.
No. Also this is you're with some improvisers, so you got to be on your feet, ready to just take on whatever you put up in front of you.
So, there's a Filipino content creator named, I think his handle is Kuya Estilo.
Oh, I know him. He's spooky.
And he's always representing Filipino fashion.
And I'm gonna steal some of his dress too. He's stylish still.
Yes. And
shout out to Kuya Estilo.
Yes, Kuya Estilo. He asked the question. He said, "Who is the icon of, or the Filipino icon of the millennial generation? Is it Ernie Reyes Jr. or is it Dante Bosco?" And my answer, oddly enough, I just commented, well, in my opinion, it's definitely Dante Bosco, because in my opinion, because I grew up as a Zennial, I would say Ernie Reyes Jr. was like that Zennial X, closer to the X.
I was going to say,
yeah,
I'm a Gen X. I'm solidly Gen X. I'm 50 years old, hardcore since 1974. I'm as old as hip hop. I'm a Gen X. Like, wait, look, I'm Gen X. Like, I had this album.
Wow.
I had the CD.
Smells physical, like Teen Spirit over here.
With the actual, with the little baby penis. Like, it wasn't edited out.
Freshman year of high school. So I feel like I got one foot in the millennial. We got Chris, who's the millennial. I'm
right in the middle. 83.
Are you considered Zennial like me? I guess we're in that same boat.
Right in the middle. Yep.
We're almost. We got our foot in the Gen X and a foot.
Did you like leaning
towards Dante?
What's that?
Both of you would say Dante then?
I would
what
say Dante's the millennial.
Dante's millennial.
Although he's
Sure.
more close to our age. I say this because Ernie Reyes Jr. started out in the 80s. Shout out to The Last Dragon with Ty-Mac. And by the way, I have a birthday party coming up, and it's The Last Dragon themed. I'm gonna be Shah Nuff.
Have you ever heard my joke?
No.
Ernie Reyes joke? You've never heard my Ernie Reyes joke? See, because in Chicago, I was one of the only Asian faces in Chicago, especially where I was living. I was I was like, I was the fly in the milk. You know what I mean? I was like a fly in the milk. Okay, so it was a bunch of white people, and so
you were the chocolate chip in the cookie.
Well, but like when Surf Ninjas came out,
yes,
Ernie Reyes was like all sexy, shirtless and shit. Let's discount that he was with Rob Schneider, but he was in Surf Ninjas, and I was at a club. I was in my 20s, and this white girl walked up to me and she was like, Are you Ernie Reyes Jr.?
Really?
Yes, I am.
And now you've been married to her for how many years?
No.
What are you going to tell?
I'm not going to tell the dirty part of the joke because I already said baby penis. Come on, guys. This is too much. We're totally going to get. Well, you know what? I always do the over 18 thing anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
You don't want to get demonetized, though.
But it doesn't get monetized anyway because the radio company that the music thing in the record label of I'm going to talk to him at the San Diego thing, but the radio company music label for Noah Lazarus, who does our theme song on the audio version of this podcast, it gets hit with copyright all the time, so we never get monetized. It's fine. I'm not worried about monetizing on YouTube or Instagram or any of those. So I'm looking to deplatform. I want to come to my website. Go to the 12productions.com. You can go to 12productions.com. You can get this website. You can get this audio podcast. You can get the Kanakuya audio podcast. And I'm working on putting all the video on there too. So you could just go to my website rather than going to all those other places. Just saying. Because but I think that what I'll say is you've never had relations with a lady. She'll never be more exuberant than when she thinks you're a surf ninja.
Oh, okay.
We'll say it like that.
Okay.
So I can PG it up. Keep it PG. But it was a wonderful evening, and she was very. She thought she had to spend the evening with Ernie Reyes.
Wow.
And I hope she doesn't watch this podcast. So she'll probably comment and be like, "You mother asshole."
She'd be like, "I got the T-Mood."
But you know what? Who knows? Maybe she spent her whole life talking about. Because we're both she's probably either in her 40s or early 50s now. I don't know how old she was. I can't remember her name. So but she might have been like, for 20 years talking about how she had relations with Ernie Reyes Jr. That's all I'm saying. I could have been her bragging story for a long time.
Her bragging story. Yeah, she can't go to another
party. Been her, I'm not racist. Look, I had sex with Ernie Reyes Jr. Like that.
Woo!
You see what happens when you come on a political podcast where I don't edit myself?
You get Miscellaneous and Brown.
That's right.
Speaking of Ernie Reyes Jr., this is that segue you were waiting for.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So let's
this craziness, Chris. You see, this is why he's my co-host, because I'll go on some crazy shit talking about weird stuff, and then Chris will bring me back.
So let's revisit this project. Well, let's just add it on here. What we were talking about, was it last year or the year before? How we were going to come together, and one, we're all Ernie Reyes Jr. fans, obviously. And two, how are we going to connect with him to promote, to bring awareness to our own community about transplant, about kidney health, about diabetes, about all of the above, and make him our poster child, while the three of us get to say, hey, we worked on this project with Ernie Reyes Jr. That was kind of the premise of why the three of us connected, right? And so wanted to bring that back up and see, what are we going to do? How are we going to revisit
Well, we're going to
this?
tag him in this podcast for sure.
We're going to tag him in the podcast. We're going to mention there are 20,000 people in California alone waiting for a life-saving organ. I would say 90% of them are waiting for kidneys, and 20% of them are Asian Pacific Islanders.
Wow.
1 in 5 of the people waiting in California they look like us.
Wow.
And they look like Ernie Reyes Jr. because he is also a transplant recipient. So
right. Yeah.
Luckily for him, he didn't have to wait as long as some people do, you know. So
How
I
long
hope.
did you guys, what was the process like for you guys?
For us, we were lucky. We both had relatives who matched us. So for me, I was only 15 when my dad gave me a kidney.
Wow.
And so I experienced dialysis while I was in high school, and I was homeschooled for a year. You know, I didn't understand what I was going through. I thought, oh, just, you know, we'll fix it and then I'll go back to school. No problem. I didn't, and not until I was older did I realize I could have died. I didn't know that. And obviously I can't thank my parents enough for the gift of life. My mom's kidney, which I've had for now 23 years, has allowed me to carry my own son. So, you know, so many things that I never, ever thought I would have ever gotten to do, I'm doing now because of my transplant. And, you know, I live with a lot of survivor guilt. I know people who didn't quite make it. You know, Chris was not my first friend who had kidney failure. And I was like, I cannot let one more friend go. I lost my friend Maribel, who was waiting, and she just, nobody in her family matched. And Filipina lady, she was a mom of 2. Her son just saw him graduate high school and then just didn't make it. And you know, I'm motivated by the 2 things: the blessing that I have to, you know, because I'm alive, but also sadly because so many of our kababayans are dying, waiting for these organs. And yet, although we all have that cousin who's a nurse or the auntie who's a nurse, Filipinos and Asian Americans are still so weird about saying yes to organ donation. And that just boggles my mind. I've been advocating for 20 years. And what I have seen is people Chris's age or so and younger are usually like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm registering, but don't tell my mom. And that doesn't help anyone, because when the time comes, obviously, if you're registered, that's your decision. But then your family will freak out if they don't know that is your decision. So my soapbox, my whole, you know, lifelong soapbox is getting people to say yes to organ donation and making sure you're getting tested, because I know we love our
It's still
adobo.
just as easy as just making sure that it's just, it's on your driver's license that you're an organ donor.
Yep. You can also go to donatelifecalifornia.org to register. It won't get you the pink dot on your driver's license. So every time you're in California, if you're not in California, it's registerme.org, and then it'll get you to your state's registry. That way, the time comes, you tell your family, this is what I want to do. One person can save up to 8 lives with organ donation. And with your tissues, you can save up to 75. And I say it's life improving, but sometimes heart valves, skin can be life saving. So I don't take it lightly. I tell everyone, like, yes to everything.
Yeah. But also, you know, like, we also have to deal with our own mortality, because if you're being an organ donor, you're not going to be probably using those organs anymore.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? So wouldn't
it's
it
very
be better
Filipino
to benefit somebody, save somebody's
right.
life?
Exactly.
That's I think I might have checked that. I think I've always been an organ donor, even in Illinois when I had my first, because this is the shell,
right?
You know, and if
you don't take anything until you're done with it, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and I will share with my best friend, who his death anniversary is coming up in late July. He was a donor, and it was just one of those things where It was his last gift. It was just one of those things where I was shocked but not surprised. Well, his family was shocked. I was not surprised, but they just said as he was on life support, and they reminded all of us he's an organ donor, and they already had 3 families lined up. I just said, that's him. This is what he's given to the world in addition to what he's already done. It was, again, like obviously with transplant, with donations, all in, but just hearing that, I was like, this is the meaning of life. This is how we pass it on. This is what we do for others. And there's nobody else that I could have thought of that instantly would have just given everything he could have to help at least one person. But he helped 3 people and their families to prolong their lives because he gave his. So yeah, without question, be an organ donor, please.
For sure. Look at the span of all the different topics we talked about here on Miscellaneous today. We gave you a little bit of a debate recap. Kyla, do you feel like you kind of have an essence of
what I needed, for sure.
The response?
Glad I didn't watch it because I'm already on blood pressure meds. I don't need any more blood pressure.
No, you didn't. Like,
whew.
I'm happy to see Biden respond today, but at the same time, it's going to be a fun summer. Oh, boy.
Oof.
But that's part of what we're here for. We're part of FilAms for Biden. We're part of here to help spread the good news and all the achievements and accomplishments of the Biden administration. But also, we're also here for a Filipino voice as a check, to hopefully the Filipino American priorities are paid attention to. And if I gotta talk about my past sexual crazy escapades posing as Tony Reyes Jr., we're gonna do that.
Presidents have been elected on worse, so
yeah.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to grab a pussy. I don't even know how to do that. It's not. Do you hook it? Or you hold it? Like, what do you? I don't even know. I can always turn everything into a joke. And while you guys were talking about all the transplant stuff, I was like, okay, now I got to figure out how to make this funny again. Only because we got to finish this podcast because we're almost going for 1 hour.
So,
as your
ninang, I will say, if you eat all the food on your plate and it's not sayang, then you should also say yes to organ donation, so you're not sayang.
Look, I'm a bit, like I told you, I am an organ donor. But if you are listening to this, but if you are listening to this podcast and you don't know about whether you are or not an organ donor, you should check. And Kyla, you should tell them to close out this podcast. First, tell them where they can follow you and find you, and where tell them where they can hear the voice of Kyla Aquino Irving. Tell them where they can show, but also tell them how to be a donor and all that stuff.
Okay. So for now, I want everyone to go to registerme.org. That way, if you're not in California, you can be directed to your state's registry. Register, check yes to everything. And then if you want to follow me, it's, I should have put my handle. It's at Discover Mabuhay on Instagram.
Discover Mabuhay on Instagram. Follow, and
discovering. I'm so in trouble.
No, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll tag it. We'll tag it and we'll put it in the description. But Kyla, thanks for joining us. And I think you're going to be a recurring guest because you're such a good friend to both of us.
Thank you. I can't wait.
And it is Discover Mabuhay. It's Discover Mabuhay. All one word. At Discover Mabuhay, everyone.
There you go.
Maybe one episode I'm going to learn where to point when Chris is. It's always this way, but I always try to point this way because on my screen it's this way.
Yeah.
But here, it's like being on stage.
Yeah, stage left, stage right. Very good.
Also, I don't have GPS to tell me where to turn, so I need that.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much, Kyla, for joining us.
But you know what? Since we have video, I want to say we're dropping this on the Friday after the debate. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. like us on the 1-2 Productions on YouTube. Go to the 12productions.com. I just redesigned the whole website. And listen to all the past episodes because I have some really cool guests and some of the stuff where Chris was interviewing me and all these different other things. So listen to all the other old episodes of Miscellaneous and Brown. And you know what? If you want to have a reminder of what 2020 was like, you could go back to the 2020 Miscellaneous and Browns that we all produced together, because I got to say, I rewatched those and they just hold up. My jokes are still good, even 4 years later.
You have the Rex episode there, right?
I know. I don't know. Did you guys post it? I don't know. Because
the Rex one was fun. That was fun.
We'll save the Rex story for another episode.
Yes.
All right, guys. This is Miscellaneous and Brown, and I am Eric Esteban.
This is Chris Mateo.
Kyla, Aquino, Irving.
Thanks for listening, and we will be back Monday afternoon with another episode. This was the special debate coverage episode. And now we're done.